네, 안녕하세요. 피에이치입니다. 피에이치와 마술의 밤 벌써 4화입니다. 오늘은 제가 번역한 책 I Was Kidnapped 주인공 토니창님 모시고 마술에 대한 얘기를 한번 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. Hello, Tony.
How's it going?
I'm really fine, and you?
Good.
I'm gonna ask you a few questions today, but the first question is very important and serious one.
What is it? Tell me.
Who do you like better, Mercy or Anna?
Mercy or Anna? Anna. I don't like to be what I call Mercy jail. I don't want to play Mercy.
All right. Okay, so here's the second question. When most people practice magic, they only focus on sleight of hand and don't care about anything else. So, how important do you think sleight of hand is?
I think that sleight of hand is the intrigue that gets people started in magic, right? It did for me, right? Like, it was that I remember like seeing the Elmsley count, and I was like, what? Like, you can hide a face-up card? I mean, so simple, right? But there's always some intrigue in sleight of hand that gets you into it, right? Because it's technical, it's fun, you learn it, right? Like, presentation and actually doing magic it's not something you learn, right? Like maybe if you went to theater, right? Then you can, but like with magic, at least when I was growing up, like I had to go to school and just do it for kids, and I was like shaking, and they're like, "Hey, why are you shaking?" And I had to I'm like, "Oh, it's part of the trick," But the term sleight of hand, I feel like there's a path that people usually go, which is you start learning. It's a circle, right? It's a full circle. You start learning sleight of hand, you get interested, you start getting good, right? And then you start to get very complex, right? And then you're trying to come up with things that nobody ever seen, but doesn't mean it's good, right? And then you keep going, most complex, and then you come back around, and then you simplify things, right? And then all of a sudden you kind of understand what sleight of hand is, but you didn't, right? So what I mean is this: it's like somebody trying to learn the second deal, right? The simple, right? And he's sitting there and he's like a newbie, right? He's new. He's like, oh, I heard about the second deal. I would love to learn it. And then Steve 40, I don't know if Koreans know Steve 40, but the legend, right? Let's say he's sitting there next to you, and he's like, yeah, I'll teach you. And he teaches you literally the best second deal, right? Let's see, right? The kid would not understand it, right? He'll be like, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's so simple, whatever, right? But he doesn't understand why it's good, right? So I think a lot of magicians, myself included, you have to go through that journey, right, to understand why the simplest one with the subtleties, right, matter more than making it flashy, right? I mean, I just think sleight of hand is important, obviously, right? Like, don't get discouraged, learn everything, right? Just explore. So much of my stuff comes out of, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I just did this? And then something happens, right? And then you're like, wait a second, there's something to that, right? There's nothing wrong with just tinkering, right? There's that what's that phrase? There's the theoretical physicists, like string theory and all that stuff. And then there's the engineers that actually have to make, sense of it, right? It's the same thing in sleight of hand, right? There's the workers, double lifts and stuff, that's all good. But you gotta have that stuff over here. But you have to realize that stays there, right? You have to realize that is not magic in a sense, right? Because magic ultimately has to be performed. But that space is still valid, okay? Like, I honestly say I'm not a magician, right? I don't really perform because I respect magic, right? Enough. I feel like I'm more like a magic critic than anything, right? Like, I love brainstorming. I love this stuff. But then when it comes to like performing, when I was younger, it was fine. So.
Right. The next question is about revealing magic secret. Too many people are just posting magic explanation video on YouTube or TikTok. Will this really help the development of magic or magic industry?
I think yes, and then no, not for the reason for just exposing, right? I think first of all, they're not like exposing like Jack synapses, right? They're exposing simple things, which will get people interested, right? It would be the same thing as going to a magic store back in the day and just showing you like those really simpler tricks, right? But at least this time, you know, because everybody knows, like, I mean, I'm not talking about the ones like, shh, look, and then you have like from the behind and then whatever. But like, you know, like the simple, like, here's a slide, or like, oh, the pencil can come apart. I don't care about that. And in fact, that's the stuff I wanted to know when I was a kid and learn, right? And then you learn it, and then people that are on the path are on the path, right? The not exposing, the no to the side isn't, I don't care if you expose, because here's the thing. I don't like when magicians are like, oh, you're not, you shouldn't know the secret. You know, you're not a magician. It's like, well, how do I become a magician? Oh, there's a lecture. I just have to pay $25 and I can literally just walk in and you'll give me everything. like where's the bar? You know, when people are like, oh, you're exposing magic. You're not a real magician. Oh, you can buy this download for $5. You know, you're like, okay, like that's the only bar, you know what I'm saying? So I don't care about exposure. What I care about is your imagination of how sleights are done, right? That's the negative side of exposing everything, right? It's because I remember when I started out doing magic, you know, there was no YouTube yet and all that stuff. And then so when I was reading books, I remember thinking to myself, this has to be perfect, right? Otherwise, why would you write the book, right? Why would you write it in the book? So I would read it and then just assume it was perfect, right? And I remember I'll practice it because that's part of my imagination when it's like, oh, it looks like nothing. So therefore, I am not doing it right, right? So I'll practice and practice and practice. And I remember going to the first convention, magic convention, and I was just doing stuff. And then people would be like, I can't believe you're so good. And I thought they were being an asshole. I was like, why are you making fun of me? Right? I'm still learning, right? And then sooner or later you start to figure out like, wow, nobody thinks that deep about fucking magic, you know, only the people that are on the path, right? Like, you know, and what I mean by the path is, you know, like here's the thing. It's like people that want to learn this stuff or like a student forever, you just, did you know the moment like you wanted to do this, or did it just always feel like it was a part of you, right? Like there's something about when you learn, like, you know, like you know, just carrying a deck of cards around every day, it just becomes a part of you, right? Read this. Okay, Bill Kalush, right? He's an underground magician, right? Like you hear legends of him, right? And he owns like the Conjuring Arts Library, you know. And I remember Ricky Smith used to work for him, you know, in New York, and we would hang out, and I finally got to meet him. And I remember showing him stuff, but he will never show me anything. Zero. Never. Right? And I came out a few times, and I would show him stuff. Zero reaction. He's like, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember like a few years later, Ricky is like, oh, this famous magician from Portugal or Spain, sorry, came to New York, and then he's hanging out with Bill, and Ricky's there too. And he asked Bill, he goes, do I need to see any magicians? here? And Bill says, the only magician you need to see is Tony Chang, right? And I was like, what? Why would he say that? That's crazy, right? And then the next time we're hanging out, and we're drinking and stuff, and I go, oh, I heard from Ricky, like, you told him that you should only see me. He's like, why? How come you never show me anything or like give me any praise? And he goes, and I'll never forget this. And he is exactly right, even though it's kind of a dick move. But I do it too, which is, he goes, I knew when you showed me stuff that you needed my approval, right? And you were good. And if I gave you that approval, you would stop growing. Because I can see in your eyes that you needed my approval. So if I never gave it to you, you get better. And I did. I did because I wanted to prove him. I wanted his approval, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with exposure or somebody holding secrets, right? A lot of times those secrets are just crap. You're like, oh, okay, wow, right? But it's that desire, right? It's that lure, right? Of finding it. That's key. You know what I'm saying? So yes to exposure, it doesn't really matter, right? But it's that understanding of what it is, right? Because, I can show you what a thumb tip is, right? And people are like, oh, this is a fake thumb. But you can literally do miracles, right? Right? You can sell a thumb tip for $1,000 if you knew the right tricks to show, right? You're like, salt. You're like, what in the name of God, right? Salt? It's so organic and just stuff. But if you treat that thumb tip like here's that secret, and they would respect it, right? So that's it. Yeah. It'll be like Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about. That's all I have to say about that.
I wish people would treat explanation video like a porn video. The analogy is a little bit weird, but I think so. For example, you can't play porn videos at bus stops or screen but you can search on Google whenever you want. If you want to know it, you can have to search it by yourself. I think the magic explanation video is the same. Rather than showing it to someone who is not interested, I think it's somewhat okay for someone who is interested in magic and is willing to learn it. And I don't think it's bad. But just as you can't post a full version of non-mosaic porn video on YouTube, I think the bar is necessary, but I can't force it to someone because it's all different.
I mean, it's an interesting analogy. I was like, okay. But I think Google is too smart for that, right? Obviously, yeah, you're right. I mean, just them searching that is good enough, right? Because that means they have interest, right? Instead of just literally being your out in an open feed of you just exposing it, right? Okay, that makes sense. But all in all, doesn't matter.
The next question is a really important one. AI research began in the 1950s and grew rapidly with the emergence of deep learning technology in the 2010. In the past, if AI was a way for humans to input knowledge into machines one by one, deep learning allowed to AI to learn on its own by imitating humans' brain. With the development of AI technology these days, it has become easier to do tasks that require humans learning, reasoning, and perception. So, what do you think about 뉴진스?
뉴진스?
뉴진스. 강혜린 이상하다. 뉴진스 몰라요? 뉴진스 이 새끼 뉴진스를 모르네. 이거
씨발 새끼. There you go.
You learn it from Overwatch?
Probably. Yeah. They say it like 씨발. They just say that all the time. Ah, 씨발. And B. Ah. Okay, this is the last question. This is a question that I always ask whenever I meet a magician, the famous magician like you.
No matter how bad your personality is, if you're good at magic, wouldn't it be any difficult to succeed as a magician?
What do you mean by personality? Likability?
I can't define what is a personality right now, but simply, I think it refers to the nature of person, like the thoughts and attitude he has. Yeah.
Are you talking about like just your like character when you're doing magic, or are you just talking about you're just a shitty person? It's like just
No. I'm talking about in real life, not a character.
and you're saying can you be a magician with a bad personality? Like if you ask that person, he'll probably say fuck you and say yes, right? So it's not like I don't understand what you're. I feel like people who have bad personalities wouldn't care about your opinion, right? Right. Like I don't think a person with toxic or bad behavior would be like sitting there but like, but do people care about me, right? The reason they're toxic and bad like that is because they don't give a shit about you, right? So I don't quite know what the question is. You know, there's an easy test, right? If people don't want to watch you, you won't make money and you won't be a magician. Simple as that, right? You know what I'm saying? It'll take care of itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you gotta make a living, right? And if you have a bad attitude or something, and the people just go, I don't ever want to see that guy again. And it's pretty quick, right? I don't know, you know? Yeah.
Of course, I can pretend to be a good person when I'm doing magic, but it will also be very important to be able to hide it until death.
Is there some magician you don't like?
Yes, you're right.
And
yeah.
you're just like, you can't keep getting away with this. Oh, he's such a bad person, but yeah, whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of bad people in this world that do great stuff, right? There's majority of musicians, the majority of songs that you love, they're bad people in real life, right? They're horrible people, right? But you know, I mean, we got to be able to separate those things, right? You know, you can be a horrible person in real life. Is he doing good magic? Then if he is, okay, you know, that's fine, that's good. But we should be able to separate that, right? I think being a nice person is obviously a given regardless of magic, right? But I would say make sure you're not too nice. And what I mean by that is that you also have to be stubborn, right? Being too nice means you care about other people's opinions too much, right? You know what I'm saying? Like Derek DeGaudio is a stubborn person, right? But in a good way. He's very unrelenting. He's like, does not budge, right? People criticize him and stuff, but he believes in what he does, right? And sometimes that can come off as like a negative energy, right? Sometimes it can come off like, he doesn't listen, he doesn't care what I say, right? Well, he listens, he cares. He just believes in, you know, trust in what he's doing, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I guess what you're saying, yeah, of course. You know, you want to be a good person in general, right? And yeah, obviously that would also lead into good work, right? Good, you know, positive energy. But also being too nice means you're a pushover, right? That means that people can take advantage of you too much. So you need to find a balance.
Lastly, is there anything you want to say to Korean magicians?
All right. Bye, Korean magicians. Kasekia.
Okay.
Shibaseke.
Okay, have a good day. 네, 오늘 피에이치와 마술의 밤 토니창편은 여러분들이 구매하신 I was anti-fragile 맨 뒷장 QR코드에 접속하시게 되면은 오늘 여러분들이 보신 이 영상에서 편집된 답변이 포함된 비공개 버전 영상을 감상하실 수 있습니다. 그러니까 여러분들 I was left in Taiwan and 뉴진스 많이 사랑해 주시고요. 저는 다음에 더 재밌는 영상으로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.